59 years ago, on this day, the 18th of December, Hammarskold was killed in Zambia. On behalf of Free West Papua Ballarat support group, I'd like to welcome everyone to this tree planting in memory and in honour of Hammarskold. Thank you. Dr. Lance Collins will now give us an outline of Dad's life. Lance, in a former career, was Lieutenant Colonel, head of military intelligence in Timor-Leste during 20 years ago during the humanitarian intervention. Thank you, Lance.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and congratulations to the Ballarat people for creating weather like this. I want to make a few remarks about Hammarskold and who he was as a man. Some remarks about the Congo, because that's unfortunately how he achieved such fame, and a few remarks about his legacy. He was a Swedish economist and diplomat, born into one of the top families in Sweden, and he was an economist and diplomat, as I've said. He was appointed Secretary General to the UN in its early days, at the age of 47, and that's still a record for the youngest Secretary General. He loved painting, poetry and music, and he was also a noted athlete. He engaged in gymnastics, mountain climbing and skiing. At the age of 56, he died in a plane crash in Zambia, northern Rhodesia, the account differ. And at the time he was flying to negotiate a ceasefire between the new established Democratic People's Republic of the Congo and Tanganese rebels who were based in the southeast of the country. He was a noted UN reformer, and he was engaged in trying to seek an accord between Israel and the Arab states. He negotiated the release of US prisoners after the Korean War, and he formed the UN emergency force and engaged in the ceasefire after the Suez crisis in 1956. In 1960, he was engaged to participate or lead the peacekeeping efforts in the Congo crisis, which lasted from 1960 until 1965. It cost about 100,000 lives. The term Congo crisis refers to the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is south of the Congo River. It's based on a former Belgian colony that is noted for its notorious human rights abuses. Just to clarify, there's another Republic of the Congo, which is based on the former French colony of French Equatorial Africa, and that is on the northern side of the Congo. In the southern part of the southern country, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the capital today is Kinshasa, a city of 14 million people on the banks of the Congo River. The crisis began almost immediately after the colony won its decolonisation struggle from Belgium, and was basically around divisions between factions in the army, ethnic factions with sort of tribal secession. It became a proxy part of the Cold War between the Americans basically and the Soviets, and there were legacy mining interests and so on from Belgium, so it became a fairly nasty mess. Some of the peacekeepers sent under Hammarskold's leadership were Irish troops, and as an introduction to the next part, I might point out that the Irish made quite a good film about some of these troops. 155 of them were besieged at a place called Abbotsford by between 3,000 and 5,000 Tanganese rebels, supported by a strong contingent, about 300 of Belgian, French, South African and other European mercenaries who had heavy weapons and a ground attack aircraft. The Irishmen held out for 5 days before their water, ammunition and food ran out, and they inflicted disproportionate casualties on the Tanganese movement. What's significant about Abbotsford is that it's a few miles from a major mine, which was identified by the US Manhattan Project as a uranium mine, and it was from that mine near Javitsville that uranium used in the bombs of Hiroshima and Nagasaki was obtained. So the mining interests were a big part of the problems in the Congo after decolonisation. The film gives a pretty good account of what was going on in the different factions and interests behind the scenes, and it also provides a segment which recreates the death of Dag Hammarskjold in the plane crash. The 1962 inquiry by the Rhodesian government found that pilot error caused the crash, but this has been challenged significantly. A UN inquiry not long after that found an open verdict, if you like. Other inquiries suggest that the plane was shot down with the CIA blaming the Russians. In 1998, the South African government obtained documents in its reconciliation process which pointed to the plane being shot down as well. In 2015, the UN Secretary General ordered another investigation which gave moderate value to these planes and noted that aircraft and intelligence assets from unknown countries were in the area of the crash at the time. Research for a 2019 documentary film, indicated that a Belgian pilot, Jan van Rissengem, with mercenary associations, who flew with the Royal Air Force in the Second World War and married a British wife, had been named as shooting down Hammarskold's aircraft. As recently as May this year, the United Kingdom government, in contrast to many other states, reiterated its long-standing refusal to not release intelligence documents relating to the case. These represent merely a sliver of the widespread and growing containment to establishing the facts of the crash. Be that as it may, following bloody decades of decolonisation around the world might have been different if Dag Hammarskjold had lived to lead the United Nations organisation to its highest ideals. In the event, and closer to home, the sham 1963 UN-sponsored plebiscite that delivered half of the island of New Guinea and its people to the Indonesian military might have been conducted differently had Dag Hammarskjold lived. 16 people lost their lives in that crash in September 1961. Many more have lost their lives from that crash since. In the end, Dag Hammarskjold wrote his own legacy. He said, "We are not permitted to choose the frame of our destiny, but what we put into it is ours. He who wills adventure will experience it, according to the measure of his courage. He who wills sacrifice will be sacrificed, according to the measure of his purity of heart." Dag Hammarskjold should be remembered.
Now, Bill on Brett Edgerton, Secretary of Ballarat and Western Regions Trade Service. Just have a couple of words.
Thank you, brothers and sisters. I just reiterate pretty much what Lance has summed up, that but for a moment in time, but for a different decision, the world today could be a very different place. For the people of the Congo, for the people of West Papua, for the people of other nations like Western Sahara, that had the decolonisation program been allowed to continue, had Dag not died in the plane crash on that day, we may live in a very different world. So today, I think we pause to remember his untimely death, but to also reiterate the very strong need in our world to reinvigorate and reimagine his ideals, his vision for a world and for peoples of formerly colonised nations to have their democratic freedoms and rights in determining and self-determining the future of their countries. So, thank you.
City of Ballarat, Deputy Mayor Linda Coast. to say a few things and then formally thank the chairperson. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Thanks everyone for attending today. It's so nice to see you all here. I'll acknowledge that we're gathering on Wadawurrung land and pay respect to the traditional custodians and acknowledge their ongoing connection to the land and waterways, and also acknowledge that Australia is a colonised country as well. So thank you to John Lawrence and Free West Papua Ballarat for organising the day. Thank you to Ballarat Trades Hall for the support, and thank you to Dr. Lance Collins for those incredible words to fill us in on the background and the story of the significance today. And it is really dear to my heart, the movements associated with peace, with democracy, diplomacy and decolonisation. So I'd also like to thank our City of Ballarat staff for supporting this day today and providing the tree. So we have a beautiful white cedar which also grows in West Papua apparently, and we have some staff here with us to assist with the planting in honour of Hammarskold, and hopefully we get some beautiful rain over the weekend to help it grow and flourish, and we can come back here and acknowledge this as a very significant event and moment. So thank you all, and I'll now officiate and call over some City of Ballarat staff to help assist in planting this tree, because it's pretty big, and we'll get it in the ground. So thanks everyone.
Thank you to the City of Ballarat for providing the beautiful tree and the place.
Thank you. Great. Did you hear that, everyone? Thank you so much for providing the beautiful tree and the space to plant it and the assistance to lift it into the ground. What would you like me to do?